welcome. Welcome to another episode of The Impact of Data and AI Literate Citizen. My host today is the fantastic Dr. Eva Kleczyk. She's a healthcare executive, award-winning leader, best-selling author, speaker, and philanthropist with over 25 years of experience in analytics, AI, and innovation in life sciences and healthcare. She serves on multiple nonprofit boards, advocates for education, healthcare access, and equity. She's a frequent speaker at industry and academic conferences where she shares her expertise in analytics, AI, and leadership. Eva is the author of the book Empowered Leadership and is also the host of the podcast Voices of Impact. She serves as the editor-in-chief at the Universal Journal of Women Entrepreneurs and Leaders and is truly a passionate advocate for leveraging data and innovation to create a meaningful impact. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much, Melissa. So happy to be here.
This is great. So I'm going to be transparent because everything's about transparency. But I met you unexpectedly. I was supposed to speak at a conference, and 3 days before the conference, I lost my childcare. So unfortunately, I couldn't fly to get there. And you guys reached out and said, would you like to do the presentation virtually? Like, oh my God, that's so fantastic. I still get to share this knowledge. And in talking to Dr. Eva, we realized, wow, she also has a voice. And she also has so many things that she has to share. So we got her as a guest, and she is here today to share that information and knowledge with everybody. So fantastic. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I did a pretty good job of the introduction, but I know there's so much more to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, thank you. Well, first of all, hello, everyone. Such a pleasure to be here and sharing and talking to you about AI and literacy and how we can make it more responsible and accountable. I'm a healthcare leader. I've been in the industry for more than 20 years. I'm originally from Poland, and I came to the United States in 1997 to pursue my education. I currently reside in Pennsylvania, but also have a big ties to Maine, where I'm affiliated graduate faculty at the University of Maine, the School of Economics, as well as get involved in some of the initiatives in the local health system, supporting especially patients with cancer. So it's been quite a journey for throughout my whole career, and having different aspects of it and developing other arenas. And the last one, as Marissa mentioned, has been the book I created, or I wrote, the Empowered Leadership, as well as started my podcast that I wanted to have for many years, since I've been on many podcasts, but it finally came in as a great opportunity to join both my book as well as being an editor-in-chief for the journal, and bring so many different voices and allow the voices to come in through multiple venues and have an honest discussion on many variety of topics. So I'm so happy to be here. I think AI is such an important topic, and in the last couple of weeks, I've been talking about it to many different audiences, and I look forward to talking to this audience as well, because there are so many misunderstandings, so many biases, and I think we have responsibility to talk about it honestly, transparently, and making sure that everyone understands what we are all walking into.
Today's format will be a little different. We were able to collect questions before this podcast aired, and so we will use the end of the podcast interview with Dr. Eva and ask her to answer them for us. She's aware of this, so I'm not like blindsiding her.
Looking forward to it.
Yes. So I'm a huge advocate of data and AI and digital transformation. I've been doing both for quite a long time. And I think what's been really interesting in just the nature of the audience and the demographics. So we've got individuals who are leaving the workforce. In the US, those are called the baby boomers. Those are folks that are like 70s and they're leaving the workforce. And then we've got this Generation X, which is kind of where I'm at. I'm at the very bottom of that Generation X. And then you've got all these generations and generations, before us. And it's really this Generation Alpha that's starting to come up into the high school, and they're going to be the next generation that comes into the workforce. And everyone's knowledge and experience with AI is different. And I think what I'd like to kick this off with is AI is driving every part of our lives, whether we recognize it or not. So I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
I think that's an extremely important question,
Mm.
and I'm with you. I think depending which generation you're coming from or what types of experiences you've had with technology, your understanding about AI is very different. So, to your point, AI is everywhere. And for those of you who might be wondering, well, I am really not on Facebook, I'm really not on LinkedIn, but I have my phone.
Right.
Okay, well, that means that you are also impacting or impacted by AI. Your information is being collected and so forth. So let me start a little bit. AI, or sometimes we call it, you can talk about machine learning, or you can talk about many algorithms that are driving what we are doing, are pretty much everywhere. Any type of digital tool, any device, any website you are going in, are pretty much collecting information on you, whether you like it or not. Even
Yep.
your little iWatch or your little ring, have the ring on. So it collects information without us even thinking about it that it collects. So if you think about it, doesn't matter what we do or not, right now, every step we take is actually impacted by AI. And AI can be many different forms. Let's start with Facebook, for example. Many of us provide information there, meaning we want to be providing because we want to share something with our friends, with our family members. Maybe when we go to LinkedIn with our coworkers, many major updates or interesting articles. This is where AI algorithm starts working. It starts understanding you, starts learning from you, what you like, what you don't like, what you post, what is your experience. And the more data you provide, it actually starts knowing you, it starts understanding you. So then if you think about it, if you are on many different platforms, if you have your iWatch, if you have your phone, if you're watching TV even, and you watch those commercials, or you click go across um, different channels, or even in your car, most of the cars have computers behind there. It's all collecting data on you, which allows them to understand you better, promote
Mm.
to you, and also bring in, create a persona for you, including understanding your health very, very often. Meaning, for example, how many of us have seen a advertisement for a particular drug or a particular services, healthcare services showing up? We don't even realize how much information is there. So for those of you who are a little bit more skeptical about I would really ask you to take a little bit of a note, sit down with a notepad and write up everything you are using from technology. And then
Right.
say to yourself, am I using AI or is AI using me? Right? So it's a, so are we actually doing it the other way around and realize that whether we like it or not, AI is in our lives. For some of us, it's a little bit more deeper than for others, but there isn't, unless you are a hermit, there isn't a person really that is not using AI or it's not part of the AI framework in some shape or form. Thank you.
I I laughed because as soon as you said write everything down, I started just looking around my desk, and I've got a monitor, and the
Mm-hmm.
monitor uses AI that automatically will adjust for light. I've got a camera that's using AI that automatically will refocus.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm my calculator. I just
That,
realized my calculator has a little, wow. I mean, and this is just what I can see here. This
mm-hmm.
doesn't include the oven or, all the other things that are in my house. Yeah, wow. Yeah, that would be a good like full, I think half a day exercise right there.
right there, then categorizing and then figuring out what is collecting on you, right? Which I
Yeah.
think we're gonna get into a little bit into data collection
Mhm.
as well.
Um, I know I wasn't going to ask any questions till the end, but this summer I had an opportunity to go to the in the middle of the hills of the Appalachian Mountains. And it was to kind of get away from everything. There were dead spots where my Wi-Fi wasn't working, which was the whole point of going.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking to one of the individuals who's at the reception desk, and we were talking about AI, and I was just asking some questions, understanding how everybody around me and everybody I meet interacts with it. And of the two individuals, one wholly embraced it, loves it, really recognizes that it's hyper personalizing, and she's very optimistic about it. The other individual, and this was the more important, was truly afraid of it.
Mhm.
And not only was she afraid of it, she made it her focus that every time she interacted with something that had AI in it, she would say, I'm turning it off. And I want to bring that up because it is my understanding that you can't just go into a phone and turn off AI. And so I want to hear your perspectives because I didn't say anything at the time we were talking, but it really made me, think. And that was probably, July, and we're
Mhm.
now in November, and yeah, 5 months I've been thinking about that answer. I really would be interested in your perspectives on that. Can we really turn it off?
That's a interesting, fascinating question
Hmm.
to answer. I think that goes back to the misconceptions about where AI is and how connected we all are, whether we like it or not. Recently, I was at one of the colleges. I was speaking to graduate students, and I not necessarily to the same point, but I got something similar as an
Hmm.
answer, meaning I do not worry about my job because the AI models cannot do what I can do, or my children already are not using AI because they don't believe in it. And I thought to myself as,
Hmm.
okay, that's an interesting question. I didn't respond either because I was somewhat taken by that question or
Right.
by those comments. And as I left, I thought to myself, it is something that it is normal to me thinking that we have AI everywhere, but so many people don't understand that AI is there, and there isn't really anything you can turn off on. It is
Hmm.
ability to understand where it shows up and how do you intake that, how do you understand what it's doing with your data, and making the right choices about how do you help validate it or steer it in the right way, in whether it's responsible, accountable AI, however we want to be talking about. However, it's not like you can take your shoe off and you don't have it anymore, so you're stepping barefoot. There's no way to step in barefoot at this point in time when we are so ingrained with it. And I think that lack of understanding of so many individuals, it's creating an interesting dichotomy that it's gonna be a economy where some people are gonna fully immerse, and which we already have so many organizations already doing agentic AI and creating all of these apps. And then there are others that are trying the literacy, they're coming up on the literacy using a little bit, but then that group that doesn't want to believe in it or is so skeptical that they don't even understand that they're already in it. So I think the question is going to be is, how do we reconcile these, and what is the, I would say, what is the impact, and how we're going to be dealing with the individuals who, I don't want to say they refuse, but I think they not understand the impact, the interconnection of economy and the digital transformation has already dealt with. For
Hmm.
example, when AWS went down, what happened to all of us, right? We couldn't get in our Zooms, we couldn't do on our Amazon, we couldn't, all of the servers went down for 3 hours or 4 hours, whatever. The economy stopped. None of us were able to do anything, or with a very slow um, speed, which didn't decrease the productivity of us. So I think that's what the understanding needs to be. And I think also we need to reframe what AI is, because that nebulous, abstract AI term, the artificial intelligence, some people are thinking, well, it's just the robot walking around us, not realizing that AI is really a broad term, and it's that machine learning model that is predicting when you're going to have a heart attack because you are going to a physician office and they have their predictive models already in the Epic or Cerna or other
Hmm.
forms of electronic medical records. They're already predicting what's going to happen. You don't think that when you are calling for your credit card, they're already marking you and predicting. You cannot turn this off, right? This is not like you can turn this off. And I think reframing that, saying, I am already in the system is around me, I'm sitting in the middle, and me understanding it and maybe choosing where I interact more and understand what it means for me. I think it's a better way than saying, I'm just going to turn it off, because there is no way of turning off. We don't own any of that, most of us individuals. B, we can make choices, but also understand that very often we really have no choice. We have to participate in something that is using the platform because it is needed for our daily life or our job or for our just a daily tasks, even like watching TV or maybe having Roomba clean your room or something like that. So I would say as not turning off, but really educating yourself and rethinking what does it mean and where do you choose to participate or where you don't choose to participate, and can you even not participate at all in some of these tasks.
All right, so I'm gonna just tie on to that very last statement. We cannot participate in turning it off.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that we're interacting with AI technologies, and that's a very broad. Let me just clarify that. That's the phrase I'm using. AI technologies is a very broad umbrella, and there's 8 different sub branches underneath it. So I'm just going to continue to use the word AI technologies instead of listing all of them. So we're interacting them with them on a daily basis. In some cases, we probably aren't aware that that has been included. We've made the comment that we can't technically go into our phone and turn off AI. It's embedded in that silicon chip, so it's not embedded, in a specific app where we can turn it off. Well, then that means if we take that one step further, we're perhaps inadvertently sharing information that maybe we didn't realize we were sharing, which now ties into the concept of data privacy. So, are we really disclosing more than we realize?
That's a great question. I think privacy has been now forefront to everything that we are doing. And first of all, I want to ask anyone of the audience, as well as you, Melissa, how, have you recently read your rights and responsibilities when you are going into an app or when you are signing up for a new a page or whatever, a website, whatever that might be? Because I'm sure, I know, most people probably don't. I mean, there are probably very
Too
few
long.
individuals.
They're getting
Exactly.
longer and longer. Yeah.
Exactly. Not only that is too long, but a layman's person will not understand what the language actually is, right?
I
So I
agree.
think we are signing up. I mean, most of us just scrolling down because that's what they are requiring you, right? That's a way of us confirming that we've seen that as a privacy clause. But very often we don't even read. Very often they are saying, well, we will not sell your information. That's all that we probably understand from there. But very often we don't think what the information is being collected because A, we don't understand what it actually said, but B, very often we have no choice but sign up. Otherwise, we cannot use the app, we cannot use Gmail, we cannot use Facebook, right? There is we are not paying very often financially. There is no actual transaction per se where we are putting $100 and we receive something as a benefit, as an outcome, as a product. We are actually coming into the system and allowing our information to be leveraged for the ability to use something supposedly for free, which is really the data collection that is happening. Some individuals, some of the platforms now have if you pay for it, you're probably going to have a little bit more protection, but then you are exchanging, there's more of a transaction. Very often anything that seems to be free, it's not really free because you are willingly, or maybe not even willingly, you are giving away your information without even understanding what you are giving out. So I think for all of us, we need to understand this. If you have Gmail, LinkedIn, Facebook, and many other platforms or websites, whatever you are going in, or your phone even, you are continuously sharing information. That can be as simple as from your demographic information. It can be as much as we are sharing, like with our iWatches and our rings and so forth, sharing healthcare information. That goes into the database where it sits there and it analyzes that. It creates a trend. I mean, I always check my ring. How many steps have I taken? How is my pulse? How is my hypertension and so forth? So there's always continuously collecting on that. So I think the first thing is privacy is very important, but I think we have to understand that there is no way not to switch it off, but it's also, we should probably think about it. If we are not reading, understanding that whether we like it or not, we are sharing our information at every point out there. I think we need to just know it, watch for it, and if we have ability or want to spend the time understanding this for something that might not be necessary for daily task, read it, try to understand it, and see whether it actually will help you with making those decisions. Otherwise, I think we are all participating the same regardless, with our privacy, with the data being collected and potentially used for any predictive analytics, for AI models training, and anything outside of that.
So when I listen, I'm thinking hyper-personalization. Hyper-personalization is the term that we've been using for probably the last 5 years, but what you've described here is taking it to the next level. It's like an ultra, personalization, a level of customization, or a level of technology where the systems are using that real-time data, the predictive analytics, the contextual awareness, what you were talking about with the rings, the location, the times, potentially your mood, and anticipating what that person will need before they even ask for it. And as a result, the technology is adapting to that individual, to that single individual in real time.
Absolutely.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, hyper-personalization is being able to customize the experience. I think ultra-personalization is becoming more reactive, shifting from reactive to proactive.
Active.
Yeah,
I
so
agree.
I'm going to rephrase that one. Hyper-personalization has been more reactive, and I think what you've illustrated and where we're moving to is this ultra-personalization, which is now being proactive. That's huge, which then brings us back to, oh my gosh, I'm not going to read the terms and conditions because it would take me probably a good hour to try to not just read it, but as you said, understand some of the legalese that the average individual isn't going to have a background in understanding. What exactly does that term mean to me? So then how can an individual be responsible? Like, how do we as an individual, an everyday citizen, can be responsible to ourselves if we don't even understand the terms of agreement?
Yeah, I think that's a very difficult
Ooh.
question, right? That's a very difficult question to
It is,
answer,
yeah.
and it's a probably question that can be philosophical in nature, and we can talk it from many different angles. But
Yeah.
I think there is a little bit of responsibility on all of us, right? To think about it. Where do we want our data to be in? So while we don't have many choices right now, I mean, there is some data being collected when you apply for a mortgage, when you apply for a credit card. There are certain things, there is nothing we can do about it, right? Every time we go to a pharmacy or a physicians, there is data being collected, whether we like it or not, because they are doing this. But I think it's understanding where our footprint is, because it's really what it is. It's a footprint. So the more places we are going in, the more footprint it becomes, and the more I would say your persona, or however we want to call it, it's being created for that customization. That's why promotion is now so customizable. That's why precision medicine can exist now, right? Because we have so much information that we can rely on. But as a responsible citizens, I think we need to understand where our data is coming in and coming from. I don't know that you and I can change anything. I don't know that the average person can change anything. But I think is the literacy, the awareness of it, and sometimes making a decision. Do I really want this picture to be online, right? Or not? I mean, the moment you take it, it's still stored on your iPhone or whichever tool you are having. So there is a possibility that some point is gonna be exposed. But we also sometimes voluntarily provide the information online. So maybe be a little bit mindful what you are putting in. What is your intention of putting that information in? Sometimes we want to because we want to get visibility, we want to share some important point, we want to be engaged and so forth. But sometimes individuals are posting without any thoughts or taking actions without thinking about it, and then they're surprised for the actions that are coming in. And I would say, yes, we've seen recently that sometimes these algorithms leverage information to impact someone's life, or impact someone's well-being, or impact someone's mood. And we need to be mindful that with all of those tools, the more we put out over there, the more it's gonna be leveraging to segment us, to personalize us, create those personas. But it also, that's the risk that we are all giving, because then something may happen and everything about you might be leaking out to someone else. So I don't know that I have an answer saying,
I don't think we're going to have an answer.
yeah, so be responsible, do this. I think it's more be aware of it. And also, the only thing you can control is what you are sharing knowingly online, and thinking about the intentionality of it, and thinking about it potentially how it can be used. But again, we are now in so many platforms, so many places, that I don't know that that's even possible to even know everywhere that we are showing up, whether we like it or not.
For me, I recognize that that's a really difficult question, almost philosophical, that isn't going to be leveraged or addressed on this podcast today, or probably even with the wider audience. But it does provide the framework that you and I are promoting. You've got to ask questions, and that's really what this discussion is about. It's awareness. And recognizing that if you're not asking questions, then you're going to fall into that bucket that you mentioned, where lack of awareness could inadvertently hurt you. Which now brings us to, I did collect roughly 10 questions. I've consolidated them based on some of the questions were very similar. I believe a few of them you've already addressed, but I'll ask them anyways. And then if we feel that you've addressed them in the podcast, we'll just do like a quick kind of answer. The first question is, how do apps and websites collect my data?
Great question. Well, first of all, the moment you sign up for an app, you're right away giving you personal information out, your age, your name, your email. So I would say this is how you know that they are taking the information. And the moment you interact with that app, you're providing more information. So you're signing up for a purpose, right? So the moment you sign up, you give information. The moment you interact with that app, you give information. So I think that's very important to understand what they're collecting.
And then if I recognize that when I download the app is still collecting information.
That is true. Absolutely. The moment you don't download, sometimes we give permissions to snoop around our phones or our computers. That collects even more.
I thought this was a good one. Question 2. Why do some websites ask for the permission to use my camera, my microphone, or even my location?
Great question. So very often they are asking for it because they want your consent to provide this. This is almost as a way to getting your confirmation that you understand that they might be using your camera when they are working, that they might be going to certain places, like we were just discussing. Some of our apps are on our phones and they're snooping around a little bit, taking that data in. Sometimes it's in a good way because they're trying to customize how the app is working, or even check how the app is working, how you're using it for future technology updates. And then for the location, sometimes they're trying to understand where you are, because depending where you are, in different parts of the world, there might be a different way of how the apps are working, how the internet is working, and understanding technically what might need to change. So it's not always a bad thing to do this, but you have to understand it. Very often, if you don't give them allowance or say, only use it when I'm using the app, that's probably the right way. If you're giving them full permission, you just need to know that they're going to be probably tracking you at every step that your phone is going with you.
So today, we wouldn't be able to do this podcast if I didn't say yes to the camera or my microphone. That's
absolutely.
Is there a way that you can tell if an app is safe or not?
Great question. I don't know that there is a way or not. I think it's really our understanding of these apps and what are we using them for. Are there some malicious apps? I'm sure there are plenty. And I think this is where we have to understand that what are they doing, who is owning them, where are they going in, where are they actually residing? Maybe they are in countries that you might not want to be having an app from. So I think it's also, again, part of the responsible AI for us, or the literacy, is understanding what it's built behind there and how some of these apps are maybe working. But again, a normal person, not sure that you will know whether it's malicious or not, or whether it's safe or not. The only thing you can do is make sure that you are selecting the apps that are really you are trying to engage with, and you know why you are engaging with them, and what are they actually for. So that's the only way you can protect yourself and your family.
All right, good. The next one, what are some problems that I could face if AI has made a unfair or biased recommendation or choice?
That's a great question. I think there is a lot of discussion about biases in AI and how they are impacting individuals' lives. I am not sure, again, whether we have a lot of impact on this. If a decision has been already made, it has been already made. I think we can take all of the next steps to ask why, to contest it, and then talk about it, why it wouldn't be necessarily representative. But in very often, it's not like we have an impact on how ChatGPT is perceiving us or how Google is presenting. I think it is for us, it's very important to understand this, what information we are giving out. And if we can control the information that we are sharing with the larger environment, then that's the only way we can do this. The other pieces, I think, as we're thinking, and it's going to be more on the corporate side, the part that we can be all responsible about is validating the human in the loop, making sure that as we are building apps, as we are building our organizations, nothing just goes in without the human in the loop checks and making sure that we validate where the data is coming from, where how the algorithms are working, who are the people who are driving or creating those algorithms, because that's the only way as we as an individuals or organizations can help steer it in a much more unbiased way. But when it comes to our personal lives, there is really very limited impact that we can do. Unfortunately, in this case, the only thing we can do is choose where we are posting our information and what the information is that we are posting.
So the question is around AI literacy, the phrase AI literacy, and why should folks like me learn it early? Like we talked, at the very beginning about this next generation coming in and the differences that individuals have when they interact with AI. So I think that's a really great question. Why do we keep advocating that folks really need to know AI literacy, now?
Yeah, great question. I think we talked about it the entire podcast almost.
Yeah.
That there is that you need to understand that not that you can change a lot of it, but if you understand how the data is collected, how the models are working, what information you yourself are providing, how are you interacting, and the fact that you cannot just turn it off, that it's everywhere, so it doesn't matter unless you're gonna be a hermit in the middle of woods where there's not even a satellite as finding you, then we all gonna be always part of this environment. So first of all, learn where you're providing your data, to understand how, educate yourself, how some of these models are working. I mean, it's a fascinating thing to get the story how OpenAI or how Meta and others are creating these algorithms and what information they are training on. If you are at an organization that you're working with, ask the questions. How are we creating these models? Validate it, create those checks that can say, is the data biased? Do I know where the data is coming from? First of all. Two, what are the biases? And three, how are these models created? Is it continuously updated? Is it an older model? Is it who wrote it? Sometimes we don't even realize each of us have our biased way of thinking about certain things. So we as programmers can bring it in. So I think for young people, it's not just to say, oh, I don't believe it and I'm not going to do it. We are all already in it. If individuals like Melissa and I are, we know that we are in it and we are trying to figure out how do we create a responsible environment, please learn it, because that's the only way you can impact it and make a change. If you understand that, at least at the basic level, how you are impacting the environment, and if you are at a company that is actually using AI, what are the best steps to creating a framework that can really create an unbiased and responsible AI framework for the utilization and what the outcomes are and how the outcomes are dependent on the input and the actual algorithm that is driving.
That concludes our questions. Thankfully we were able to get through all of them. Yay! We got through all of them. That's fantastic. So we are wrapping up. I'm going to leave this with one last question for you. Oh, I'm getting visited by my cat. So one last question. What advice would you like to leave with the audience? Like, of everything that we've talked about, what's this one piece that if you not just passionate about, but you feel it's so important that they need to take this away from our discussion today?
Great question. I would say is AI is here. It's everywhere. It's all of our responsibility to learn enough to understand the ins and outs of this environment so we can successfully and responsibly be part of it and really leverage it to our best advantage. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today. I truly appreciate it. I hope that we could maybe have another conversation in a year from now, see if anything's changed or if we're completely beyond ultra personalization and maybe somewhere else that we haven't even, envisioned yet.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, everyone.
Sure.